It's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's not how you go, it's how you land. This lyric from Seesaw the Musical always reminds me that we don't often have control of where we start. And while we do have some control of the destination, we have little control of the twists and turns that life throws our way. Our job is to focus on that landing and being open to the possibilities, because where you land is not always what you planned. This is me at 3, painfully shy. So why I thought a career in theater was a good idea still baffles me today. I figure it's a combo of 3 things. Number 1, my older brother was doing it, and any cool points I could get with him was necessary. Number 2, nobody told me that I had to audition. And finally, the magic. The very first musical I saw was Alibaba at Riverside Children's Theater. My brother was one of the leads, and I will never forget being in a packed audience watching my brother sing completely off key with 100 other kids running around stage entertaining a crowd. That was magic, and I wanted to be a part of it. Sitting in a seat very close to the one in this picture, they called my name. My mom nudged me to get up on the stage. Tears immediately started swelling up as I went center stage and made the 90-degree turn to face my critics and the 100 other kids that were there to audition that day. I immediately began to ugly cry through my song, and I glanced over at my mom for moral support. The problem was she was crying too. But I did it, and I got cast. Well, all right, so did every other kid whose parents were willing to pay for the admission that year, but I said yes. Dopey was definitely my big breakout role. Very appropriate because these ears were so big they didn't fit the prosthetics, so they had to put little spot toppers on top. That was awesome. 2 years later, I landed the title role of Pinocchio in Pinocchio. This is my best friend Ryan to this day, and my little sister playing Cleo the fish. Auditions got easier, and I actually started enjoying myself. Peter Pan at Riverside Civic Light Opera at Riverside Community College was my very first semi-pro gig. The show gave me 3 unique firsts. First, unlike Riverside Children's Theater, not everybody who auditioned got in. Number 2, I got my first college credits, thank you very much, 1.5 units. And number 3, it was the very first time I was around kids that really wanted to be there. Total theater nerds. I mean, they had professional headshots, some had agents, one had even been on TV. And legit, some of them had like some serious stage moms. But surrounding myself with that kind of drive and being aware of the talent in the room inspired me to work harder. And I was hooked. So I was a little surprised in my high school career assessment that basically said arts didn't rank at all. I had no idea what I wanted to do, so why not? I decided to apply to Cal State Fullerton for an advertising major with a minor in music. Wasn't ready to give up arts just yet. At the end of my second year, I was walking down the music department and I saw a flyer. The American Musical and Dramatic Academy. New York City, 2-year conservatory? I said yes. I got accepted and I picked up everything and moved all the way to New York City for the fall semester. This is Times Square in 1997, very close to the scene of my very first Broadway musical, Grease, starring Xena the Warrior Princess as Rizzo. As I watched my very first Broadway show, I got wicked concerned. Not because the TV princess was playing in the musical, but because I was clearly not ready. Every single cast member, down to the smallest of the ensemble, was absolute perfection. I had some serious work to do, and I was very aware that I was not ready. I saw every Broadway show possible. One of my favorite habits is going in a half hour early as soon as they opened a theater, and I would pour through the playbill. I wanted to know what every cast member had done in their career. I wanted to know where they trained and who they gave credit to, because success leaves clues. Why start from scratch, right? Every show inspired me to work a little bit harder. I began to sign up for extra classes and gymnastics outside of school. I knew that there was 100 guys right behind me that wanted it just as bad as I did, if not more. And I had to show up and play hard. To save money to pay for all my extra classes, I lived in some very interesting places. This is my bed in the hallway in Hell's Kitchen. The bricks would often crumble on my face in the middle of the night. There was no AC. The bathroom was off the kitchen and it didn't have a door, and I had to climb 4 flights of stairs just to get into the apartment. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I didn't come to New York City to sleep. After graduation, I learned that the arts was not an easy profession. I signed up for a career that I got rejection almost every day. I didn't always know where my next paycheck was going to come from. And I had to be willing to pick up absolutely everything and go somewhere completely new, however long they needed me, at the drop of a hat, even in foreign countries. If my parents had any inkling that I would fail or that, hey, I even sucked, they never let me know. They made it a habit of surprising me at almost every single show I ever did, even showing up in foreign countries, even when I was playing Ricky Martin out of Puerto Rico. Good casting choice. They were my champions. Champions are those inner circle people that love and authentically support you no matter what. They don't always have to be blood related, because when life gets hard, you need them around you. You better cultivate those champions, be aware of who they are, and treat them right, because you're going to need them. This picture was one of those moments. I didn't tell you the complete story of why I ended up in New York. Yes, I left to pursue a dream, and maybe it's because I was listless in California, but I also ran away. I had long knew I was gay, and I genuinely feared that the moment I came out, I would be disowned. New York City was my exit and a way to completely go out on my own and know that I would be okay. I don't have time for that story in this story, but my worst nightmare never came true. These two were my champions, and they never let me down. And it's a good thing, because I did not disappoint. I came with great stories and some great trips that they got to go on. My first break came out of college. It was a European tour of 42nd Street. What you can't tell in this photo was I'm dancing on a sprained ankle, and I'm with Parasite. Yep, my first night in Europe, I ate 2 street burgers and ended up in a Spanish hospital. But I never missed a performance. I wish I had a picture of my first union contract, Princess Turandot. I was probably too busy doing 8 shows a week off Broadway, working 30 hours a week, and juggling a full-time schedule so I could finish my undergrad degree. Who has time for pictures when you're doing that kind of schedule? But I showed up. I never missed a show, and I never let them see me sweat. My most embarrassing audition was definitely Damn Yankees. At the callback, all the guys were asked to throw some tricks because there was a number in the show where every single ball player had to be able to tumble. Surrounded by 50 other guys and in front of the entire directing team, I proceeded to do a round off, back handspring, back tuck-ish. I didn't stick the landing. Well, I did stick the landing into the laps of the casting directors. I missed the landing, but I got the gig. They said yes, and I was really lucky they did. You see, the dance captain at Damn Yankees introduced me to another friend of his who worked on Wall Street, and I wouldn't appreciate this moment in time until many, many years later. From 5 p.m. to 1 at night at Rockefeller Center, I was in a bullpen with other professional artists working on acquisition and merger presentations. These presentations compiled massive amounts of data showing off potential deals to investors, and I really liked it. I learned about branding, marketing, corporate due diligence, and data. Creative and a data guy? Unicorn status, right? I know. The job allowed me to finish my undergrad. It allowed me to hit all my auditions and even take gigs outside of the city for months, knowing that when I got back, they would hire me back, and I was incredibly grateful. My professional career started picking up steam. I was getting callbacks for 3 Broadway productions. My agent was calling a little bit more, and I was on the edge, so close of getting what I had come to New York for. And on the 62nd floor of Rockefeller Center, I got the call. The cancer had returned. Mom was in stage 4, and suddenly it didn't matter anymore. I sold everything and returned to California. My champions needed me this time. I moved to LA to be closer to auditions while still being close enough to parents, 45 minutes without traffic. After this production of Music Man that you see here, I was forced to have unexpected ankle surgery. Desperate to make the cast of the West Coast premiere of Miss Saigon happen the following season, I did the surgery, I did my physical therapy, I auditioned, and they said yes. one of the most talented casts I've ever gotten to work with. On the first day of tumbling rehearsal, I went down. I went down hard. Prognosis? Back arthritis and a torn disc. Years of not listening to doctor's orders and thinking I was invincible had finally caught up with me. At 28, shift. I didn't have a choice. A decade of building a professional brand, gone, just like that. No time to waste, I immediately began looking for my next chapter. Thankfully, all those skills in New York transferred beautifully. I booked a marketing gig in construction, and within 6 months, Wall Street was calling again. I got the gig. I cleared my background test and was due to start in a week when I got another call back. More like the top secretary meeting with me privately to let me know who the real boss was. Yeah. As a former professional union actor, I like to get paid for drama. I called my pops afterwards, kvetching, discouraged. He let me emotional bar for a little bit, and then he casually stated, "Come work with me." My dad was a flipper. My first memory of flipping houses was at around age 5, sucking cockroaches up with a vacuum all afternoon as my family was pulling old carpet up from a roach-infested house. I said yes. The family business had expanded to lending to flippers as well as investor training. Within the first year, we rebranded the company. We created a 400-page report with 800 charts called the California Crash, warning investors it was time to get out of California to escape the foreclosure crisis ahead. We then spent the next 12 months creating 1,200 pages of market strategies on what investors should be doing to thrive in the shifting market. We even launched a radio show in 2007, interviewing thought leaders across our industry while giving access to nerd status intel not typically available in our industry. In 2008, at the height of the Great Recession, I approached Dad with another brilliant idea. Hey, Pops, how about we invite 400 people to a black tie event at the Nixon Presidential Library? We'll feed them all. We'll put together an expert panel, and we'll pay for everything. So 100% of what we can raise goes to charity in honor of Mom. It's like dinner theater for real estate. He said yes. And so did our panelists. Our speakers progressively got more national in scope to include top technology brands and government officials. For a small company like ours, it was a huge coup. It was really surprising to watch how some of the skills I had picked up in New York transferred, some by sheer chance. It all began to pay off. I won't pretend that part was easy. There was certainly a sense of lingering failure from New York City, and there was definitely a sense of imposter syndrome. What right did I have to be part of some real estate business? Instead of focusing on the doubt, I dug in. I focused on learning. I went back and got my MBA at UC Irvine to up my data game. After graduation, my partner said, "Hey, why don't you start serving on boards?" Sounds great. I don't even know boards really do, but I'm here for it. I said yes, constantly looking to grow and to challenge myself. At one point, I was serving on 8 boards and committees that started all over the county and eventually the country. And I loved it. I had accidentally stumbled on a second passion I didn't even know existed a few years earlier: philanthropy. Who knew? I got to work with Pops, I got to give back in incredibly meaningful ways, and I got to be close to Mom. We even checked off some of the most spectacular international bucket list trips with her. After 17 years of fighting cancer, 6 of which were stage 4, my #1 champion passed. I want you to know, I never regret showing up for her and moving back to California. Not once. Quite the opposite. I am forever grateful. After Mom passed, I was inspired to update the mission of our business to building wealth and legacy through real estate. Helping small business owners crush it was already part of our niche. Adding the legacy piece, inspiring small businesses to give back, created a whole new fire under me and a unique path within our company. There's this terrible misconception that giving is strictly a function of money, but time and talent holds just as much value as treasure, sometimes more. You don't have to be wealthy, you don't have to be over 40, You don't even have to look a certain way. You just have to show up. That's it. You have to say yes. What surprised me the most is giving back actually gave back to me. I learned more about leadership in the last 15 years volunteering on boards than I did at work or any other formal education setting. This newfound passion turned into national speaking gigs, as well as writing for Forbes.com and several other national outlets. This is the magazine cover, Think Realty magazine, and they were nice enough to do a feature of Dad and I on their 2018 cover. We created I Survive Real Estate to give back and to honor my mom. I had zero idea it would take on a life of its own. 6 months ago when I agreed to do this talk, this is roughly where I would have stopped. Up in that top right corner is me moderating the panel in 2019 at I Survive Real Estate. On the stage is the CEO of Property Radar, Sean O'Toole. We only met because of this event, and we watched each other's work over the last decade. Long story short, as Vice President of Market Insights for Property Radar, I get to speak nationally, helping small businesses leverage data to disrupt disruptors and win by doing things Wall Street companies won't. And yes, of course, it always includes a little bit of local philanthropy. I continue to work remotely with the Norris Group, and I remain co-owner. And in a few days from when I'm taping this right now, we will be taping I Survive Real Estate 2020, now in its 13 years, and we are just about 30 grand away from crossing the $1 million mark. I would have never thought that that shy 3-year-old would have competed at the Broadway level. I didn't know my 28-year-old body would have given out and dashed my dreams. I had no idea playing a ball player and screwing up an audition would lead to a side hustle in New York that would eventually lead me to working for my family business. After coming out, I didn't think I would ever even move back to California. And nobody gave me the script showing me it was possible to find a second passion, and that philanthropy would be the gateway to writing, national speaking, and a career in technology. It's okay to not know where you're going. Please say yes to weird, to interesting, and to scary things. Collect and cherish your champions. Work to find opportunity in every disappointment. And please be generous with your time, your talent, and your treasure. At 43, I'm telling you the lyric is spot on. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's not how you go, it's how you land.